Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another art video, which a lot of you are probably surprised about because I have not done an art video in way too long. It's very overdue. The sad kind of reality is that at the moment while I'm at university I really don't get that much time to do art, so I know the art content has been slacking big time and I do apologise, but honestly, like, uni life is just so stressful at the moment. I'm in my final year, which hopefully means that after I finish university I will have a lot more time to do some more art, and I really want to start showing you guys kind of tutorials and stuff like that, like maybe how to do printing, how to like blend pencils, how to mix up acrylic paints. Like I'm kind of thinking maybe like every other week having something different, like some kind of how-to series maybe. So let me know if you think that is a good idea, but that won't be happening until after I finish all of my studies, I don't think, unfortunately. I'm still going to try and do some chatty art videos from time to time, but it's just too difficult while I'm at university to kind of do stuff like hands-on because I have no space in a student house. It's really inconvenient, and yeah, I just literally have no space to keep anything, no space to do anything, and it's not fair on the rest of my housemates if I'm taking up the kitchen table doing a painting all day. So the actual creative content is going to have to wait until after I finish my studies, but for now I still want to carry on doing chatty videos with you guys. I still want to do Q&As and stuff like that, so head over to my Instagram and follow that. I've got a special dedicated art page if you didn't already know, so you can always leave like video suggestions there, and I do sometimes do drawings and stuff, so you can follow my Instagram to keep updated on those. I just will not be showing them on YouTube for a little while I kind of finish my degree and get my life together. So today's video I'm really excited for because it is one that's been very highly requested. I have people all the time asking me on my Instagram, like in my DMs, how I write about artist work and how to do an image analysis, how to do an artist research page, like how to lay it out, how to actually talk about people's work. And it can be really tricky. My school was really good. My teacher was absolutely amazing at kind of helping us through this and talking us through the different stages, but I know every school is different, and with a lot of us having a lot of time off schools and unis and stuff at the moment because of the current situation of the pandemic, maybe it is a little bit more difficult for some of you to get hold of your teachers to ask for help. So I really hope that this video is going to be useful to a lot of you and help you out, because it is something that is a really important skill to be able to demonstrate in your art sketchbooks, that you are able to talk about other people's work and interpret them in your own way, get creative with it and show awareness of other artists' work. And I also thought that I would talk you through a couple of examples from my actual sketchbook. I just thought that this might make it a bit easier for you guys to visualize. Obviously, hopefully this goes without saying, but try not to copy anything that I've done, because obviously like that would be plagiarism. Like, you can take inspiration, by all means take inspiration, but if you're copying something word for word then that is classed as plagiarism. So just be careful with that, because I don't want any of you getting caught out and losing marks. So you can definitely use this framework and use this as a basis for your own work. And yeah, I just hope that it helps a lot of you out. So let's get into it. So I have used the same kind of framework for my artist images for as long as I can remember, like literally since the start of GCSE art, and it is one that my teacher came up with, so all credit goes to her. She was absolutely amazing, but I thought she won't mind me sharing this with you guys. So every time I used to talk about a piece of work, I kind of had this structure in my mind, and I kind of had like a set list of things that I would want to talk about. So I am going to share that structure with you today, and yeah, I hope that you find this helpful. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is how to do an image analysis. So I'll also insert some photos, kind of examples of my book, like how I lay it out and stuff. So an image analysis is more of an in-depth talking about a single piece of work, or that's how at least we understood it in my art classes. I would choose a single image from an artist that really inspired me for some kind of reason. Maybe he was really important with my progression of development towards my final piece. Maybe I was going to do my piece in the same style as them, or use the same colours, or kind of a piece of work that was really influential in my own work. So I would choose this image and try and get as much information about it as possible. So I would stick this image down on one side of my page, quite big, because you are talking about a single image, so it's important that the marker can like fully see all of the details of what it is that you're talking about. So I would stick down the image quite big, and then around the outside of it I would write all about the image. So in the first paragraph I would talk about background information about the image, so who the artist is, when the piece was created, what media the piece was created using, the title of it if you can find it, and any kind of background information about the piece. So maybe what inspired the artist to create it. This can be quite tricky to find sometimes, so don't stress too much if you can't find it, but if you can find the media, the date and the artist, those are kind of the three main things that you should be aiming for. So the example that I'm going to be talking you guys through today is this piece by David Cambria. So I'll also insert a little close-up of this, but this is kind of how I tend to lay out my image analysis. So the image in the middle with all the writing around, and then I do my recreation on the other side. So I'll just read out a little snippet to kind of give you guys an idea of how I write it. So for the information section, I've put, this is an oil painting on linen by David Cambria entitled We Would Rather Be Ruined Than Changed, done in 2015 on a size 100 by 70 centimetre canvas. David Cambria was born in 1986 in Italy. He originally started his career as an architect and then decided to move into painting. And then I just put a bit of further information about the artist, so you kind of get the idea on that one. The next thing that I talk about is the composition of the piece. So this is kind of where things are arranged within the frame. So sometimes artists can leave like quite big like dead kind of space, and this can be quite symbolic. So composition can be a really important thing to think about and talk about. So again, as an example for this image, I have said, in the image I can see a man placed right in the centre of the frame, showing only his head, and there is a line removed from his mouth. So that was quite short. It will vary depending on the image that you've chosen. Some like images where there's a lot going on, you'll have a lot more to talk about the composition, but obviously in this piece there is just a single person, so there wasn't an awful lot to say about the composition because it's just him on his own. Next I will talk about the viewpoint, so how as a viewer you look at the image. So this one's probably a bit confusing without an example. So again, I'll read out what I put for this image. So I have said, as an onlooker, I feel like I'm making eye contact with the man in the piece and his eyes are at the same level as mine. This makes me feel somewhat uneasy and intimidated as I look directly into his eyes. So kind of like how the image makes you feel as a viewer. For example, for some images you could be looking down on the person in the image. For some paintings, like the person could be looking like they're towering over you. So the viewpoint can really make an impact to how you feel as a viewer. Like it can make you feel quite uncomfortable, or at the other end of the spectrum it could make you feel, if it's a really light-hearted piece, it could be like a party scene, or it can make you feel like part of a family or something. So the next thing I will talk about is the colour that has been used in the image. So what kind of colour schemes there are, what kind of palette. So is it a warm or a cool toned palette? Are there quite dark colours or quite light colours? What colour's the background, and does this change the piece in any way? So again, for an example, I have put, the colour scheme is quite mixed in this piece, but overall it's quite a dark palette. There are warm tones coming from the face with hints of red and warm brown coming through, and this is contrasted with the strokes of blue and white embedded in the face, which are cool toned. The background is very dark, which makes the whole piece seem dark and more intense. I feel like colour is a really important thing to talk about because the colours used in a piece can change the mood so drastically. So if you think about Picasso, he's got his blue period and all of the images feel quite sad and depressive and quite lonely, and then you move into his rose period and it starts to like warm up a bit. So colour is definitely an important thing to think about. Yeah, so make sure you don't miss out this one. The next paragraph that I talk about is all about the mood of the piece. So what kind of mood does the piece give across? How does it make you feel as a viewer? So this is quite short for this example. I have said, the mood of this piece is quite sad and depressing due to the colours used, and the man's eyes look sad and droopy. This makes me feel sad because I wonder why he looks upset. Okay, I would probably write something completely different if I was doing this now, bearing in mind that I wrote this about 5 years ago now, so it's been quite a while. And then I move on to the interpretation. So this is definitely my favourite thing to talk about in an image analysis. I feel like you can be really creative with it, and the more creative the better. This is all about your own interpretation, what you think certain objects could mean, if there's certain symbols in the image. I always thought about this section in a similar way to how I would analyse books in English literature. So it really is kind of your own interpretation and what you think things could symbolise or mean. And you might sound silly writing it, but this is what the markers want, and honestly just get creative with it. Like, if you think there's a story to be told in the image, then tell that story and get across to the marker what you think it could all mean. So I have said, I think the artist is trying to convey a strong sense of emotion in this piece. The fact that he has chosen to erase a line across the man's mouth could also suggest something about the piece. Perhaps the man is being silenced and the artist is saying he is not allowed to speak. And then I kind of go on to talk about how it could link with the title of the piece, and just get really creative with it. You could also look for certain things that could be symbolic. So for example, doves are quite symbolic. If you have doves in a piece, and that could symbolise like hope, or like kind of light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. That is just a completely random example. I don't know why I thought of that, but it just reminds me of like Romeo and Juliet and stuff. And then the final section I've got is my overall thoughts. So I talk about why I've chosen to focus on that image, so why I was drawn to it in the first place, what I like about the image, and most importantly how it links to your theme. So anything that you write about should link to the theme that you've been given. So for example, the theme for that sketchbook was exploration and discovery, and I kind of wanted to explore oil painting because it's something I'd not done up until this point. And then there's a further section which will not be applicable to all pieces of work, but that is text. So if you have text in an image, you should also try and write about that, because the font of the text can really be important in a piece as well. So if it's a poster, write about, like, if it's quite a dark poster, like we did posters on the Crucible in my GCSE, and the posters like had fonts on because it was saying the name of the Crucible. So the font that you choose for your poster can really make an impact on the whole of the rest of the mood of the piece. So if you have something that's really like dark and scary, you're not going to have a font that's got all like swirls and like flowers over it and stuff, are you? Again, not the best example, but I hope you get the idea. So that was the example for my image analysis, and then on here I just add a little flap. Is if there's any information that you can't fit on the page, then it's so easy, just add a flap with a bit of sellotape on the side, and then you can fit the rest of what you want to say on. And then I also just put a little photo of the artist there. On the other side of the page, I have done my artist recreation. Bouncing off the light, sorry. So here, this is my artist recreation. I don't think you have to do this. This is just something that I really enjoyed doing. So I would split my piece up into 6 sections and kind of copy it in a different media just to see what works well, and just to explore the piece in further detail and really get like a deeper understanding for how it would have been created. And then over the top, I've got a piece of acetate. You all know on this channel, we love a bit of acetate. If you don't know what it is a sheet of clear plastic. And over the top, I've just written in permanent marker what each of the sections is. So I've got watercolour, chalk pencils, oil paint, acrylic paint, oil pastel and graphite pencil. And I've just kind of written what my favourite sections are, and just like how the media fits with the piece, just kind of general how I thought it went. So that was my image analysis. I'm now quickly going to talk to you about how to do an artist research page. So again, this is just how I like to lay it out. You don't have to do it this way, and you don't have to do your image analysis like that by any means. This is just what I like to do. So an artist research page, you don't have to have quite as much information about a single image. So I tend to think of this as I'm focusing on the artist like overall kind of I've chosen them for a certain reason. So maybe I really like their style of work and I want to practice with that, or maybe I really like the things that they paint, or the like just in general I like their work for some kind of reason, or it could link into my development and stuff. So again, I will show you an example. So this is my artist research page for Thomas Saliot. So again, I'll insert like a close-up as well, but this is what the overall page looks like. So I tend to start off with a paragraph all about the artist. So obviously the artist's name, what kind of work they produce, what media they use, any background information that you can find. So any like background info on where they grew up, or things that could have influenced their life growing up, that could have influenced their work in the future, and any work that themselves find inspiring, any artist they really like. Sometimes this information can be really hard to find, but if an artist is actually still alive, then emailing them is quite a good idea. So I did this with an artist in A level, I think. I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but they did actually reply to me and they sent some really in-depth comments, and like they really explained to me what influenced their work. So that was really nice to actually get a reply. I then tend to pick about 2 or 3 images to write about in a little bit more detail. So for this artist research page, I picked 3 images, stuck them down, and just wrote a little bit of information about each image. So you can think about this as kind of like a mini image analysis. So obviously you're not going to have room to talk about every single topic like what I stated before, but just pick a few things to kind of focus on. So it might be like the mood, or the colours used, or the interpretation. Just like pick a little thing to focus on in each image and just write generally your thoughts about it. And then on the other side of my page, I do a recreation similar to what I did before, but rather than splitting it up into sections, I will just do like a big image in one media. So for this piece, this is a recreation of one of Thomas Saliot's pieces. I used acrylic paint, and then over the top I've laid some acetate. Again, we love a bit of acetate. And I've got a picture of his image, and then a bit of writing about my recreation and also about his image. And then just to make the page look a bit more interesting, sometimes I also include a flap of other work from the artist. And like, a few people have asked me how I actually do these, and it's so easy. If you want a tutorial, I will do a tutorial, but it will be like 30 seconds long. So I just cut out a bit of paper a little bit shorter so it doesn't cover up the title, and then I just stick it on with sellotape on the side. Like, I hope that you can kind of see what I mean. I just put a bit of sellotape and then it just flaps out like that. So there you have it. That is how I do my image analysis and my artist research pages. I hope this hasn't been too boring, and I hope you have actually found it interesting. Obviously, I am not an art teacher, so if your teacher has told you to do something different, then please do that, because I'm not a teacher. I've never marked anyone else's pieces of work. This is just how I used to do it. I got an A star at GCSE and a B at A level, if that helps any of you, and this is kind of the structure that I've used throughout. I do think it's really important to try and include writing about other artists' work in your book somewhere if you haven't already, and hopefully this has just given you a bit of inspiration about how you could do it. You don't have to use this method by any means. Like, please lay it out however you want, but this is just to help those of you who might be a little bit stuck on it. So yeah, I hope that has helped a lot of you out. Thank you so much for your continued support. Please remember to like and subscribe if you are enjoying my videos, and yeah, I will see you in my next one. Bye.